Hi, this is Tommy Gill from Everstrength.com. Thanks again for joining me here in my garage gym. Today I wanted to talk to you about the last level of training that I feel is probably the pinnacle of the hierarchy of training, especially if you're starting out in a program. I call this what they would call power training. Power training is something that you would probably see a lot of athletes train in, like fighters, football players, something that requires a lot of athleticism. Idea of a power program really works on, it starts from the basic of your foundation, which I talked about, which is your stabilization, and it takes your strength and it makes it more efficient. It really concentrates on functional movements and efficiency of movement in all planes of motion, which I talked about in an earlier video. You have your frontal kind of plane of motion, which is more of a side-to-side motion, your sagittal, which is back and forward, and your transverse, which is kind of your pivoting motion. And you want to be strong in all those planes of motion so you could avoid any type of injury or imbalance in muscles. So the idea is, with power training, you want to be able to enhance your neuromuscular efficiency to the max. And you do a lot of different types of movements. And what type of movements do? You pair some of these strength and power exercises, which can be something from box jumps, and you can take balls and slams. And probably you could see, you ever see the big truck tire, and they'll take a sledgehammer and you hit that. It's working your transverse plane, and there's so many different movements that you do. And why they would be called functional, these are a lot of the movements that you would use in everyday life. Something like carrying groceries and stuff like that. When you train in power, you kind of take those movements and you take them to another level where you would just be so efficient in some of the movements and power movements where everyday kind of chores would be a lot easier. Shoveling and stuff like that. These are movements. You could do wood chops, where you're working all these planes of motion. So I definitely really like power type of training because I think it translates more well in everyday life. Now you could do exercises like I mentioned, like a box jump, a squat, but you could do a squat jump. You could do a lunge jump where you're splitting your legs. You could do speed and agility drills where you're running backwards, forwards, side to side. The ladder drills where you're actually using your feet into the ladder, in and out. And it works on your coordination, and of course, it works on your stability, and plus it works on your aerobic capacity. I mean, there's so many things in power type of training that are very beneficial. You kind of cover almost all the realms of overall fitness. I like to do it, and I'll throw in some power exercises. Usually, I'll go maybe a month. I'll implement mostly power and sometimes blend in some strength type exercises to keep my strength up, which would be focus on strength, but then throw some power in there, so I got a little bit of both, and then I become more well-rounded. And that's the type of programs I like to implement, that are based on power and strength. And I think they, like I said, they would translate well into everyday life, into just everything you do, and it just makes your body work more efficiently. And plus, pair with a great nutrition program, you'll look great, you'll feel great, and it's just a good way to train. So with that said, so power is probably the kind of the highest point I consider in a training regimen, because it's kind of taking every type of element from your stability to your strength training, to even, and then you got hypertrophy and maximal strength, what I talked about earlier. You could implement those into a power exercise, but power takes your stabilization and your strength and makes it more, and puts plyometric movements in, very explosive movements in there, which are very helpful in neuromuscular efficiency and just getting your body to move all over and getting the flexibility and just feeling good, just getting the flexibility and everything you need. So it really helps. So it's good to kind of implement this, but you want to start slowly, especially if you're starting a program, you probably don't want to go straight into the power portions of a program. Of course, that's going to be later on. If you sit at a desk a lot, you probably have some tightness and some shortnesses of muscle, especially probably in your hip flexors and stuff, so that power movements would be a lot harder to do because of that. So you want to definitely work on those, on the flexibility portion. That's why I always use stabilization, flexibility, and mobilization as the basis for anything. And you keep those types of exercises, and you blend them in every type of program that you have. And every warm-up should have some type of foam rolling in and some type of dynamic warm-ups that work on your body in all planes of motion, so you get your body stretched and your fascia on your muscles stretched out so you can move very efficiently. And then when you get into a power portion of a program, you'll be able to move and move well, and you'll be able to limit any injury, stop any injury from happening, because your flexibility will be there. So again, you start a power program, start off slowly, you work on your stabilization, your strength, and then you go from there. And then we'll talk more. So I'm going to leave it there. I can keep going on, and I can start demonstrating exercises, but that's going to be for another video and some other articles. So in the meantime, hit up my website, everstrength.com. Enlighten me on some things. And if you have any questions, I will answer them the best I can, and I will find you answers if I don't have them right off the top of my head. So again, thanks for watching my video, and hope to talk with you soon. Okay, thanks.